of soil. Now we'll now be looking at the advantages of animal power. It is simpler to handle and maintain. Well, and then the second advantage is that they are more efficient than man because they can work for longer hours, unlike the human power. Then the third advantage is that animals can pull loads that are many times heavier than those that the farmers can carry. The fourth advantage is that maintenance costs are comparatively lower than those of machines. Then the fifth advantage is that they are good substitute for machinery at intermediate level of production and technology. While the sixth advantage is that their dung serve as manure which fertilizes the soil. Now, what are the disadvantages of animal power? Well, the first one is that it is unreliable because it's subject to illness and death, also like the human being. Animals are prone to diseases, just like human beings also are prone to diseases, and they are also prone to infections. It also requires some level of training and handling the animals. That is one of the disadvantages, that it requires trained personnel to control and handle the animals. Then they require human guidance and direction in all operation. Then the fifth disadvantage is that they have limited use outside transportation, production and pulling of implements. And then it cannot cover a large acreage of land. That is, you can't use it, or if you're having 100 acres of land and you say you want to be using animal power, then it's like you're deceiving yourself, because it can't cover large acreage of land. Then it is less efficient. Now we'll be looking at wind power. Wind power is another source of power being used on the farm. The wind power can be harnessed and utilized by installing windmill. The blades of the mill turn and causes the shaft to rotate. If the shaft rotates, if the shaft is connected to a water pump, it can be used in pumping water, and it can also be connected to an electric motor that can be used to generate electricity for lighting or to operate other equipment. What are the advantages of wind power? It's a neat source of power, and it is also free of pollution. That is, it's a neat source of power, and it is free of pollution, which is unlike the thermal or mechanical source of power. It can be used to generate electric power. It is suitable for remote areas that do not have electricity. That is, rural areas that are not connected to the national grid can make use of wind power to generate their own electricity. Then the fourth advantage is that it is relatively cheap to maintain once it is installed. While the fifth advantage is that the running cost is low because no fuel is consumed. Now, what are the disadvantages of wind power? Wind is not always available, and therefore it is an unreliable source of power. That is, there is inconsistency in the wind that is being required for generating the power being needed on the farm. Then the cost of installation is high. If the cost of maintenance is not high, due to the fact that there is no fuel being consumed, or the running cost is relatively low because no fuel is consumed, but the cost of installation is high. And then the wind power has limited use, as it can only be employed in stationary operation, which means that it cannot be used for mobile operations, just like the bush clearing, that is, in land preparation operation, just like the bush clearing, and then the tillage operation, which includes the plowing and the harrowing of the soil. The power output is very small. The next source of power that we'll be considering is solar power. The solar power is the power harnessed from the sun. Energy from the sun is utilized by plants in photosynthesis. That's one of the use of solar power in agriculture. And on the farm, the solar power is also useful in drying farm products. That is, the solar power also can be used in drying of agricultural produce. Then the solar power also can be harnessed in voltaic cells and converted into electric power, which can be stored in batteries or used directly for lighting, heating of dryers, pumping of water, and operating of other agricultural equipment. And then, what are the advantages of solar power? It is a neat source of power, and it does not pollute the environment. That is, it creates an environment, a cleaner environment. It aids a cleaner environment free of pollution. And then the second advantage is that it can be used to generate electric power. And the third advantage is that it can be stored for later use. The fourth advantage is that it is suitable for remote rural areas that do not have electricity. The fifth advantage is that it is relatively cheap to maintain once it is installed. And the running cost is low because no fuel is consumed. Then, what are the disadvantages of solar power? It is unreliable in its primary form because it is affected by seasonal changes. Just like during the rainy season, you might be expecting the sun to come out during the day, and you might be shocked that there might not be sun to dry any of the agricultural produce. The day might just be cloudy, and which renders our solar power redundant. Then the cost of installation is high. Then the third disadvantage is that it cannot be employed in mobile operation, except even so if you say that you are using a solar charger to charge, how long can you use that? And for how, which type of operation is it? It can be used in powering. Then another thing is that it is not efficiently suitable in powering heavy machines. If your machine is consumes a lot of energy, solar power won't be considered as an efficient source of power. Then there is need for special training of personnel, and construction of special structures are needed for the installation and maintenance, which is also another disadvantage because we need to train personnel for the installation and construction, and then there's also need of special infrastructure. That's why we have to construct special infrastructures for the installation and maintenance of solar power. The next source of power we'll be looking at is the water power. Water power is harnessed by dam construction and installation of turbines to generate electricity. That is, water power is generally being meant to generate electricity. And this is done from the force being achieved from running water. The power so generated may be used for lighting or for the operation of stationary machines and equipment, which are used in processing and storage of farm produce. And then, what are the advantages of water power? The electricity so generated is efficient and reliable. That is, you can use it to power heavy machines. No matter how heavy the machine is, it can be used in powering it. It is a clean source of power and free of pollution. And then the dam being constructed for the generation of the electricity can provide water for irrigation and domestic use. Then it can easily be converted to other form of energy. That is, the energy being derived from water power can be used for other form of energy, can be converted to other form of energy. Now, what are the disadvantages? The initial cost of construction is high. Then it cannot be used in mobile farm operation like plowing. And then the third disadvantage is that power supply is subject to seasonal changes in the volume and rate of flow of the water. The next source of power that we'll be looking at in this series is the mechanical power. It is the use of internal combustion engine which is driven by burning fuel. This is used in farm machines such as tractors, bulldozers, and trucks. They require trained personnel for the operation and maintenance. That is, mechanical power requires trained personnel for operation and maintenance. What are the advantages of mechanical power? It can be employed in mobile and stationary operations, unlike other sources of power. With the use of mechanical, a large area can easily be brought under cultivation within a short period of time. That is, the stamina of operation with the use of mechanical power. It is reliable and can be used over a long period of time. That is, you can use it. It is a reliable source of power. Then it minimizes or eliminates drudgery associated with farm work. Hence, it makes farm work less tedious. And what are the disadvantages of mechanical power? It is expensive to purchase and maintain. Then it requires skilled operators and technicians. The third disadvantage is that maintenance and running costs are high because you need fuel in running mechanical power, and also the maintenance cost is high. Then it pollutes the environment through the release of pollutants, air pollutants, that is like CO2, CO, carbon monoxide. Then the fifth disadvantage is that the lack and inadequate supply of quality spare parts hampers the use, as most of them are imported. And the last source of power that we'll be considering in this series is electric power. Electric power